Good morning and welcome to Zen Fits here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world. My Zen Fit this morning is Monk Moo. Monk, what is Monk Moo? Well, first of all, we know what a monk is, but what's Moo? Well, you have to really, this is a Zen thing. A moo is a Zen cone, the breakthrough cone, by the way. If you're going to practice awakening, which is Zen, if you're going to practice awakening to your true self, you have to break through the barrier of moo. You have to break through the barrier of moo before you can practice awakening. So when I talk about Zen and Zen Fits and all that, I don't mean like formal Zen like Japanese Zen or Chinese Zen or Alan Watts Zen or any of that Zen or Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist and I don't practice Buddhism and I don't practice Zen. I'm not a Zen Buddhist. But I practice awakening, and awakening is moo. So let's get into that. First of all, the cone, the Joshu's moo, that's the name of the cone. Now, Zen cones are kind of, they're just stupid puzzles. They're ironic. Zen Buddhism, somebody said, is Buddhism with jokes. But the jokes are ironic. Ironic. And now, an ironic joke, you either get it or you don't. We all know that yet. When the irony happens, you either spontaneously break out laughing, or you're saying, what the hell does that mean? What does that joke mean? And then when you try to explain it to somebody, they may laugh, but it's not belly laugh. It's not fall on the floor laughing. It's not awakening laughter. You see, laughter is awakening. So what is the monk moo? Well, let me tell a story. Okay, so no, you can't. It's backwards, isn't it? But anyway, this reads, Monastery Creamed Honey. My wife went to Outer Banks for her yearly vacation, and when she came, she always buys something for me. And she came back, and she found this bottle, this jar of Monastery Creamed Honey from the Trappist Monastery in Berryville, Virginia, which is up in Northern Virginia. Now, the story of this, why she brought this, was because way back in 1968, when I had my first moo, or awakening, you have many awakenings, it's not fixed. I had my first awakening. I had to go to this, I had to go to the Mass at the Trappist Monastery up in the mountains of Berryville. So I got my wife up and I got my friend up. Somebody else may have been there too. And I got up in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of madness. And we drove through the mountains to this Trappist monastery, and we went in through the door and sat down in these seats and behind a grate, and it was all dark. And we sat there, and then a bell rang. Bong. And all these monks rose up they had been bowing over in prayer. And there wasn't much light, maybe a night light or a candle or something, very dim. And these monks rose up and began to chant. And the chant came from this deep, deep cave, And then after the chanting was over, it was time for the Eucharist or the Mass, and a monk brought it back to us. And through the grate, and fed us the Eucharist, the host. I wasn't Catholic, but I remember the monk's eyes. I remember the eyes of that monk, so piercing, so steady, so glowing in the dark. I remember the eyes of that monk. But the story is a little deeper than that. Before I get into the monk's moo. So the next connection with the monk was when I was in the submarines. For 4 years, I was on the same submarine stationed out of Norfolk, It was a diesel submarine. I was in subs before the nuclear boats were born. I was a sonarman. And while at sea, I began to read The Seven-Story Mountain, which is the autobiography of Thomas Merton. I was fascinated. Here is this promising academic, this intellectual, who suddenly disappeared and gave up his career and disappeared into a Trappist monastery in Kentucky. And the Trappist monastery monks were very strict. You couldn't do anything unless the abbot said it was okay. So he disappeared. It was like the submarine. You know, the submarine's in a fleet, and then suddenly, where did that submarine go? Where did Ed go? Where did the submarine go? Where did Thomas Merton go? That was the question, and I think that was the first stirring of my spiritual question. Spiritual journey is not a journey, it's a burning question. Your spiritual journey is the awakening of a question. Who am I? What am I? I have to know. And it's like a frog in the gloom, croaking in the heart. It's like a yearning for knowing, a yearning for knowing, you know. And so that yearning leads us on a journey. And we don't know where it's going to go or where it's going to end up, you see. But you have to go. It's a calling. A lot of people, you know, the ministers get called. Well, they get called to the ministry and then they get stuck there. They get called, you get called to do something. You get called to get married and you get stuck there. If the call is not from the deep, you're going to get stuck somewhere because the call has no end. You see, if you think, oh, I finished, I've answered the call, I'm a minister now, or I'm a writer, or I've achieved this, I'm this or that, you're stuck. You stop following the call. The call of the deep has no ending, you see. I thought this morning, when in the submarines, there's one thing that you totally believe in if you're in a submarine. We shall rise again. I shall rise again. You believe that. Anyway, so we're getting back to Monk Moo. Okay, so the Zen cone, the breakthrough cone of Zen, the breakthrough question, cones of questions, they don't have a logical answer, but there's an answer. But you have to discover it. It has to break out in you. So the basic cone is the monk asks the monk, and you got to inhabit these cones. You're like little dramas. They're like little mini stories. So there's this monk, and he'd had this question all his life. His big question, this calling. And he finally got an audience with Joshu, the great master. Oh, you got it. And you have a question. You don't come to the master without a question. You don't come there and just ask, what'd you buy today at Walmart? You come with a question. You come with a question. And it's got to be a deep question. It can't be superficial, like, will I ever get rid of this wart? It has to be a heartfelt question. And so the monk has his question, and he says, "Honored sir, does a dog have Buddha nature or not? Please, yes or no, put my mind at rest. This question is burning in me like a fire. Does a dog have Buddha nature or not?" And Joshu said, "Moo." Joshu said, "Moo." Spontaneously, he didn't think about it. Oh, what's the answer? Moo. So the question and moo comes at the same time. Boom. Question, moo. Question, moo. Now what is moo? This is the breakthrough question. This cone is famous because it can't be broken by logic. You can't come up with a philosophy of moo. You can't come up with a book of moo. You can't come up with anything that captures moo. That's why I ask, well, what is the monk's moo? What is the monk's moo? What is your moo? Well, your moo is when you see the irony of life and you break out laughing. So moo is the laughter when you watch Laurel and Hardy. Moo is the laughter when you watch Seinfeld. Moo is the laughter when you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. Moo is the laughter when you see the absurdity of your situation, your struggle. Wah, 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 wah. Who am I, who am I, who am I? Moo is when you see the absurdity of the question. When you see the irony of the question. Who am I? That's absurd. You are. You're having monastery creamed honey on your bread. So now I spread the honey, the moo on my bread, and I ask the question, you see, what am I? Oh, my big question, my torment, you see. The question is a torment until you arrive at moo. So who am I? I'm just sitting here in the kitchen eating honey on my bread. That's who I am. I'm eating honey on the bread. And when you see that, when you see that you are just what you're doing, you're just what you're crying about. Whatever you are doing, that's who you are. Whatever you are doing, that's what you are, you see. You're not something else. There is no something else. You're it. You're it, you see. You are just this. If you're listening to me, watching this, that's it. That's who you are. You're not somebody off in the future like, oh, I should be this or it should be that, or I wish I wasn't that, or I wish I did this, or all that crap, you see. All that crap, you see. That's just mud in the water. What is the clarity of who you are? You are just this. And when you see that through and through, it hits you like a bat against the head or a punch in the gut. But it's laughter. It comes out in hysterical laughter, you see. But you see, what happens is, when you laugh the monk's moo, people will think you're crazy. Because you're laughing. What is he laughing at? I don't see anything. He's just laughing for no reason. That's crazy. He needs to go in the ward. You see, if you laugh for no reason, you just joyously laugh. That's moo. That's the monk's moo. And other people won't understand. Well, what's so funny? Are you laughing at me? Are you laughing at me? What are you laughing at? You can't laugh for no reason. That's stupid. That's crazy. You have to have a reason to laugh. But monk's moo has no reason. Monk's moo is just the laughter of being. Just the joy of being. You don't have to have a reason to be. You don't have to have an answer to your question. You are the question. What am I? Moo. What am I? Moo. So remember the monk's moo, and the next time you get caught in a snit, the next time you get caught in the question, oh, what should I do? Is she right? Am I right? We're back and forth. Yeah, no, I'm right. No, you're right. No, you're right. No, I'm wah, 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 wah. Just shout moo. Just, you don't have to say it out loud. Just yell it inside. Moo. And that breaks the tape loop. That breaks the yada, yada, yada. That breaks the trap, you see, of thinking there's an answer to your question. Thanks for dropping in.